and welcome to the Omen Path podcast. Dom, my friend, how you doing today?
Very well, thanks, yeah.
Good. Today we have a very special guest. We have the owner of our local game store, Matthew Holden. Welcome to the podcast. How you doing, my friend?
Hello, I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Yeah, we are good. We are ready to...
Such energy.
Yeah.
We're good. We're fine. Oh God.
We're going to build the energy into the podcast. I think what we're going to do. Yeah, we've been meaning to get Matt on for quite a while. I think it'd be really interesting to have the perspective of an LGS owner on the podcast. Unfortunately, my horrifically large amounts of travelling has got in the way of that, so I do apologise for that up front, Matt. But anyway,
that's right.
You're on, you're here, and we're ready to rock and roll.
You thought you'd bring in the grumpy old man.
I thought I'd bring in the grumpy old man. Yep, plenty of shouting at clouds and all that sort of stuff. Exactly. Okay, Matt. Let's start right back at the beginning. Magic the Gathering. I know you've been playing for a long time. When did it start? What got you into it?
What got me into Magic? Yu-Gi-Oh.
Really?
Yeah. So a long time ago, when I was a weean, back when dinosaurs ruled the earth, I started with Yu-Gi-Oh when that first came out because of the cartoon.
No.
When I was a youngster, May Valentine will still be one of my first true loves. She was great. And I started with Yu-Gi-Oh and really enjoyed it. And then one of my mates played Magic, and I dabbled. And that's always a dangerous path to go down. So I literally traded in my Yu-Gi-Oh collection for Magic packs.
Wow.
And that's always dangerous.
That's a
so
bold
yeah,
move.
I started in Kamigawa version 1. We just finished Mirrodin, and then we went on to Champions of Kamigawa, Betrayers and Saviors, and that's how I started in Magic. There wasn't a modern back then. We had standard and extended, and I remember playing like Stasis and stuff like that, and going, "Yeah, this is my jam." Yeah, I was a dirty blue player because I can have no upkeep and play Stasis and win, right?
You always tease me for playing blue. Now I know the reason why.
Yeah, but I was a monster when I did it.
I don't know.
You literally just go, there's no upkeep. Cool. Here's Stasis. No one untaps. I'm going to tap all your stuff. I'm going to untap all my stuff. And we're just going to keep going till you're dead. Because you'd have... I forget what the card's called now. So everything you have comes in tapped. And we'll just go from there. And I think it was like Turnabout on a Spell Scepter. So you go, I think you're in combat damage. Yeah, cool. I untap all my stuff. Go again. You can do nothing. We'll go again.
Ouch.
I would get you like a Phantom Warrior to go, I've got a 2/2, which you can't block. Got ya. And it's going to take forever, but that was the jam.
But time of the round, it's a draw. Oh.
Oh, no. She goes, it's 10 turns, I got you. There we go. You can't do anything. What else? But I also played like proper decks back then. So this was before things like Planeswalkers existed. Sets like Future Sight and Planet Chaos and the other one of that block, Time Spiral. Oh, yeah. Great sets. I then dipped out before Lorwyn came out because I think they released a core set and rotation happened.
Yeah.
I went, so a lot of my stuff then was going to rotate out. And I went, I don't really want to do that. And also like Kifkin and stuff from Lorwyn wasn't really my bag. So I missed Planeswalkers completely.
Oh.
And then had like a 20-year break and then came back in Cities of Guilds of Ravnica, Return to Ravnica.
Okay.
Ixalan era, kind of, that era. It was quite funny when cards like Tarmogoyf, because they were 50p rares back in my day.
Yeah.
And they would. Yeah,
now they're 50,
I remember one.
they're 50p res again.
Now they're 50p res again. Yeah, you can tell. Yeah. Well, I had mine and suddenly go, it's like an 80 quid card. I went, it's a time ago, mate. It's a bulk round. And they go, no, it has value. I'm really, does it? So yeah, it was interesting times coming back. Because again, when I played, damage used to stack. Mana burn was a thing. So I came back and all these mechanics have gone away. And what is this nonsense? But yeah. So, yeah, I think I started Cami was 2004 maybe, so like 20 years ago, and then came back. Well, it must be 6 years ago. So yeah, good times.
What dragged you back then? Because that's a good period of time. A lot of people would completely step away from the hobby completely, really, at that point.
Yeah. So I think becoming involved with an LGS brought me back. So I had come into our LGS to do the wargaming side of things, and I think Magic was a good way of passing time, because when I got involved, the shop was mainly Magic and not much of anything else. So to get to know people, I went, you know what? I'll bring my collection in. I'll bring some of my old decks in. I'll build a standard deck. And went from there. And because it is a quick game, you can just pick up and play, especially standard, that you can just go, I can just grind some games. It only takes an hour. Job's a good one. Plus, Liliana, Chandra, and Nissa are my girls. I love them dearly.
Yeah.
So you did eventually come back around to the Planeswalkers.
Yeah. Again, I was playing games and went, right, I can remember what I'm doing, and then was going, do this, and they go, they don't well anymore. What do you mean? What do you mean I can't block with Steve and then sack him and still kill you for creature? What's this nonsense? What's going on?
It's interesting because they've just again changed how damage works, haven't they? Or the ordering of blockers no longer exists.
That's right.
So the attacker just chooses where the damage goes after all the combat tricks have been played now.
Yeah, I think that simplifies it a bit, but it's taken some of the nuance out of it, but it does make it a hell of a lot easier to explain to someone.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things that the scenarios where it really comes in is quite limited, but it can get a bit complicated. But it's just taken a bit of that complication out of it, I suppose, really, hasn't it?
It favours the attacker, doesn't it? So it makes the game slightly more aggressive.
Yeah, it was one of those niche things where if you knew it and wanted to use it, you were kind of an enfranchised player who would have been around for a while. Like newbies would be going, what is this nonsense?
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. Okay, so you had a bit of time out. What were you doing in between those times then? Was this your Warhammer times then? Because I know there's some Warhammer back in the deep past.
Back in the deep past, I'm not that old. So I worked for G-Dubs back in 2000 2005, which is like yesterday. So at my time when I was coming to the end of my G-Dubs career, I was getting back into I got into Magic at that point because of and again, one of the people I ended up living with was a Magic player, so I ended up doing like a club out in Woodbridge. So we would do a lot of tabletop and a bit of Magic to fill in the time. When I stepped away from all of that, I kept doing the tabletop side of things, painting, modelling, running clubs, stuff like that. But it was mainly tabletop stuff. And like I said, when I got involved with Langden, it was a case of now I'm going to step back into it to remind myself what I'm doing.
Was it Ivory Goat at that point beforehand?
Yes. So Ipswich's LGS originally started as Ivory Goat Games. And that was 10 years ago, back in 2014.
Oh, wow.
And it was pretty much 99% Magic at that point.
Okay.
I got involved in 2017, brought the wargaming side of things into it, and expanded it from just a card shop to like a local games shop, as in its full vibe. Our original location was quite small. It started off with like 3 small rooms above a bar, So we ended up taking the internal walls out, making it into one bigger space, which made it a nicer place to be. Fresh carpet, fresh coat of paint, and then 3 years ago we moved to a bigger shop. So we now have like permanent play space, which I think is what we needed. So we rode out the pandemic in the old location, and then once the pandemic was gone, we took the chance to move to a high street shop, which was a bold choice at the time because I haven't got any money, so this will be fun. But going from like low rent to proper rent, from small space to big space, and thinking, and exposing like the shop to the general public, because it was one of those things where if you knew where it was fine. But trying to explain to someone where the shop was, you go, oh yeah, you go past that bar, you see a little set of stairs, and it's like dark, but you go up them, and they're going, nah, I don't fancy it. So it was
accidentally walk into the tailor shop that was there as well.
Yeah, I think I'd done that the first time I went upstairs. Actually,
yeah, it was good to move to, for want of a better phrase, a proper shop. I think having that high street presence, having a window, sort of external signage has totally changed the shop from what it was to what it is now. And having the space to have like permanent war games tables to host bigger events, because again in the post-COVID days we could fit like 12 people up there. Now we can host a tournament for 36, which is a different size completely.
Yeah,
and we have far more stock. So it's all these positives that have come out of it.
I remember at the time there was discussions going on, and I know there was a lot of potential of risk, and I know there was a lot of worry involved. But I mean, ultimately, it feels like it's probably one of the best things you've ever done for the shop. I could be wrong in saying that, but
yeah, it was basically we were forced into the choice of move or close, and neither option felt right.
Sure.
Because if we stayed where we were, it would have just been death by 1,000 cuts, and we would be gone by now. We just wouldn't exist. But moving was a case of, well, we've suddenly got to go into a large shop environment, so things like business rates kick in. The rent goes from not a lot to, oh god, that could hurt. VAT registration, and all that just comes with it, and actually fitting out a bigger premises.
Yeah.
So it's going, oh god, I've got a carpet like 1,500 square foot. Oh great, that's great. Don't want to do that.
Yeah. All the tables, all the chairs, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So it was a big outlay, and you think, yep, this is fine. And I think we'd done it just in time for Crimson Vow pre-release.
Oh.
So
yeah. God, yeah, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it was a wee while back now, but I can't believe Crimson Vow was 3 years ago.
Yeah, I literally was just thinking that. I was like, God, was that really 3 years ago?
Yeah, November 2021 was Crimson Vow. But yeah, wow. So yeah, November 21 we moved, but it was that thing of and actually physically moving a shop's worth of stock. We only moved it like 200 meters. It was a case of, right guys, everyone assemble on this day. We're going to lift everything and take it down the road. But then we got it all in and went, oh no, we've actually quite like filled a lot of the shop already. And again, but since then we've doubled down. There's far more stock. There's far more range. It's just a completely different entity now, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, it's definitely it's a different beast now. Beforehand, it was you would arguably argue it would be like a cubby hole hobby store, whereas now you're a proper local game store now, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. I look back on the original shop with fondness, but I always joke as well, say, like we're like a proper shop now. But it was, but I think that being hidden and being not like on the high street was fine for the time, but it needed to kind of move to the forefront to survive really, and have that space to run events. Because I can't imagine like doing RCQs.
Oh god,
in that sort of space.
Yeah.
But even simple things like disabled access and toilets and just the whole vibe, it's totally different.
Yeah, 100%. Do you remember your first time going up to the old store, Dom?
I do, yeah. I mean, the stairs up there are very steep, like you say. No way to get a wheelchair or anything up there. It's you'd go up there, and it's like, oh, if it was the middle of the day, it's like great, but then you'd sit down, play a game, and then the sun would start streaming in the windows right into your eyes and all this stuff. But it's it's a charming little location. But like you say, if you didn't know it was there, you wouldn't ever pop in there. If you were just walking past, right? So.
Oh, you wouldn't. Yeah. Other than the old sign that was outside, there would be no. I don't really remember there being any other. I mean, I went looking for you guys, and I jokingly said, but I still went and walked into the tailor's first. Like, do you know what I mean? It was just up and around the corner. So, that makes a big difference. And I see it, and I'm sure Dom sees it as well, and you'll see it yourself, Matt. The amount of sort of times people will come in and will almost go, oh, I didn't. Well, it's not so much now, but at first they'd be like, oh, I didn't realise you were here. When did you open? And you would stand there and sort of say, oh, we've been open since we used to be upstairs. And they'd be like, oh, I never knew you was here. Like, do you know what I mean? So that exposure is good, really, isn't it?
I think that's the thing. The fact we move literally 100 meters. And you go, we were next door and upstairs. And they go, what? What do you mean you were next door? Oh, yeah, we were there for 7 years. And I go, you what? So, yeah, it was surreal, that move. But it's opened us up to a whole new range of people. And we've now got a regular sort of clientele that weren't regular before. And I think having things like the option to have permanent wargamer tables, to have the space to do board games nights and bigger events and RCQs and run multiple things.
You have lots of D&D nights as well there, don't you, as well?
Yeah. It's basically a case of we can now do lots of stuff, which is a key.
I mean, arguably, I've seen it where you've got 3 things going on at once. There's whenever you walk in there's normally someone on the 40k tables. There's normally some Magic going on, or some Yu-Gi-Oh, or some whatever, or people open Pokemon packs. The amount of times then there'll be a D&D group there, or people sitting there painting, for argument's sake. Like it's a very versatile space.
The fact that you've got the space to offer all of those things at the same time. I would pay good money for a storeroom. My poor kitchen is doing double duty, and it's just going, I need to be bigger, help me. Yeah. So I've got this little tiny cupboard that is just currently full of stuff, and you think, no, I need a bigger room. It's fine. The urge to just rent the old shop to be a storeroom.
Well, I was just sort of say, can you see yourself getting into a bigger position or a bigger location, or do you think you're?
Well, we're halfway through our current lease, and it's been good. I think the location is fine. In a perfect world, we'd have twice as much space, but that comes at twice as much cost.
Twice as cost, yeah.
And I think that's the problem. You need to be able to scale up and to jump to the big like LGSs takes some doing, because you either go for town centre, which you're then paying town centre money for, or you go for edge of town destination store, but then you've got to consider, how do people get there? Because actually, if we were on the outskirts of Ipswich, you go, well, actually, if someone's getting a train, how do you get there?
Yeah.
Or it's all those things. So yes, you might pay less in rent and rates, but then there's no walk past traffic. So it's this toss up of what's got the higher value. And again, even things like, how is the high street doing as a whole? So are people coming into the town centre? What's parking like? What's access like? Is it safe? And because actually being on an industrial estate at God knows what time of night, you think, oh, I don't fancy it. Whereas at least if you're in the town centre, there is a secure presence, because you go, hello, I need a policeman, please, because I'm in the town centre. And it's you've got that bit of protection there.
Yeah.
not that we ever have had any issues, but it's just all these things that go around your head of, right, what do you actually need to do to operate a shop? And there are so many things to consider.
Yeah, of course. I think it's like anything as well. It's always, you always want to think about the bigger picture of those sort of stuff. It's like security is obviously really key, because if you were situated in an area, or if things kept happening in your store or close by, people are just going to go, well, I'd like to go there, but I don't want to because I'm scared, or whatever. So actually, it's a really important thing to think about. You know, no one wants to take their backpack full of, you know, cards and legacy decks and CEDH decks, you know, and they know that the petty crime in the area is horrific.
But the daft thing is, to someone who would be looking to do that, those things aren't worth anything.
They're probably more worried about your phone and your wallet than they would do your backpack, weirdly enough, wouldn't they?
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of the fun of like geeky hobbies, isn't it? You go, this has actually got value, and no one actually understands it.
Well, let's not give anyone any ideas, hey?
True. But no, it's very much a balancing act of where do you position a LGS, and even like the operational model. So, for example, we don't charge for our play space. So if we're doing a tournament, there's a tournament entry fee. But otherwise, it's all free to use. But I know some people go for the pay-to-play model, or they like have a cafe, and all these things. You go, actually, what works best? So we are set up as, we're a shop with play space attached.
Yep.
So basically, come shop here and use our space. And that's kind of the vibe we go for. I know other places will have like limited stock, but then you can just go, pay me a $5, have a table. And you just think, there's so many models, but I think I'm happy with the one we have at the moment because it feels right.
Yep.
But it's always that fun balancing act of what's the right thing to do. Who knows? Because it's learning every day.
I suppose that's a flexible thing as well, because you know things change. You know, the pandemic taught us all that there is flexibility that has to be had. You know, there was a period of time where you maybe even thought that you may not ever open up those play spaces ever again. You know, you might have become, you know, I know there was plenty of times when you were delivering to my door in the middle of the pandemic, you know, drop it off on there and wave across the driveway. That
was a joke. We went from being a store with no website to an online store in the matter of about 24 hours.
Yeah.
So that was fun. Okay, so I have toys, please buy them. But when like everything was shut down, like you couldn't buy a can of Black Splay for love nor money. No. And I remember, like you said, we did local drop-off back then, so you'd literally bag up everyone's stuff, drive it round, put it on their doorstep, ring the bell, run away, and then wave at them from the gate to go, hello, there's your toys.
It's interesting because obviously Games Workshop especially had quite a big resurgence during the pandemic, didn't they? Because people were sat at home with all this spare time, couldn't go out anywhere. Actually, it's time to paint my models.
Yep.
So
people's piles of shame got dealt with. And I know since then, GW have been making so much money, they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah. They might actually pop up into the FTSE 100 soon. Might be time to get some shares.
Because I remember having Games Workshop shares back in the early 2000s, and I think they were like £3 a share back then.
Hold on. Sorry. Are you serious? Are they looking to be that strong?
They will qualify, So,
really? If you remember, they were one of the most profitable companies in like the world.
Well, I remember that
because they obliterated Google for like and all sorts. And
so I remember that, and it's one of those things. It always blows my mind because obviously we're actually really lucky in the UK because we don't pay nowhere near the amount that you would do like over in the States. It's like they pay mega money for models over there, like GW stuff.
Yes.
It's just crazy
because it's made here and shipped there. There is no American factory. Yeah. But for context, like when Brexit happened, GW had a seat at that table.
Wow.
Their opinion was that valuable that they were asked what they thought.
That's crazy.
And you just go, cool. But you forget like a little miniature manufacturer in Nottingham actually is a massive employer.
Yeah.
And they are a worldwide employer.
I was literally about to say worldwide as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and that again, it's a like when I was there 20 years ago, it was like a hobby job for people. Now it's a behemoth. It's an absolute monstrous company, and it's always funny when you get like the old school like hobbyist employees kind of crashing into like the modern I'm an accountant, and they just smash into each other, and you go, this decision's been made for this reason, and this decision was bad.
Yeah, you've got one side of the coin, yay, our lovely nerdy hobby, and the other side of the accountant's like, the beans don't add up if you do what you're going to do. Like, so type of thing.
Well, for example, they have an agreement with shareholders that it will never reduce prices. Ever. Full stop. That will never happen. But for a while, they then did cans that were twice the size, but only 1.5 times the cost. So you were getting more value, but they haven't technically reduced the price. And you go, I love it. It's genius.
That's cool. Yeah.
Why is this a thing? But like when I used to work there, we had a share save, and like I said, the shares like £3 each, and the shares are now not £3 each anymore. I wish if I'd had my time again, I would just gone, yep, you know what? I'll just keep those, and I'd be retired by now.
The thing is, like, we've all kind of got stories like that. Like, just a quick side. So, it's a really long story, but anyway, my brother used to hold Bitcoin, like full-blooded Bitcoin, like back in the day when it was worth nothing. And it's one of those things that I think he ended up selling it off for not a lot of money. But if you would have sat on that, I mean. So I know someone that does crypto trading, and it's approaching like, is it 100 grand a Bitcoin or something now? It might be 80 or 90. Like it's big money now. It's just crazy. That side of things is crazy. But anyway, it's over here or there.
Yeah.
So
I guess
go on.
Just talking. I think Bitcoin and stuff like that. The problem is the whole thing's a confidence game, and it's so unregulated. You go, why is it worth as much? Because I say it is. And you go, oh, that's such a dangerous way of being, because there's no backing for anything. There's been so many horror stories, but
we saw it with the apes, didn't we?
NFTs. They went from being the biggest thing ever to now they're all worthless.
Yeah.
But hey, fun.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not involved in any of that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
We've got off topic, haven't we?
Slightly. No, it's fine. I'm sorry. I was about to steer it back into topic. It's all good. Okay, so you've told us a bit about the foundations, about what Langdon does and how you come about it, sort of thing, in your day to day. What is, obviously we're a Magic the Gathering podcast, but what's your biggest seller what's your biggest seller in Langdon at the minute?
Games Workshop.
What's next after
that? Depends. It bounces between. Well, we have a running joke every day of literally just going, did Games Workshop, Magic, or Pokemon win the day? And most of the time, Games Workshop will eclipse everybody else. When you get like releases, Magic or Pokemon will shine, but overall, it's usually G-Dubs first, and then either Magic or Pokemon, depending on how good the current set is.
It's really funny. I don't know if anyone else out there listening does the same thing. Obviously, I go to you guys to play Magic and to get my Magic product from. I know recently, and I've dabbled with 40k recently and in the past, but predominantly I always think of you guys as like a Magic store. But you guys just do so much more than Magic. I mean, I always love plowing through the 40k stuff. It's just. Yeah, it's always a treat. It really is.
Yeah, I think like I touched on earlier, I think it's all about business model. Like there are some shops that just rely on one product, be it Magic, Pokemon, Warhammer, whatever, which is fine while that product is doing well. If they then have an off week, and Magic has had many off weeks recently, it can cause your whole business to like teeter on the edge. So we've gone for the spread our net wide across, like, these are our core things that we're going to do. So Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Warhammer, so a whole range of things. So actually, if any of them have a dip, the others hopefully are having a resurgence at the time, and it all balances itself out.
Balance itself out, yeah.
Because otherwise, you just go, oh, Magic released a bad set. Cool, I'm bankrupt. Or Pokemon delivery hasn't turned up. Excellent, I have to close now. Whereas if you've got 7 products, you go, yep, you know what? If one's failing, the other 6 make up for it, and that's always the key. And I think things like G-Dubs having a weekly release means there's always something new, whereas Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, they're like quarterly, so you have these big peaks and troughs of, and actually even getting hold of stock, like Foundations, brilliant new set, can't get any stock of it.
Wow.
And you go, awesome.
That's
cheers, guys.
It's meant to be the set for the next 5 years, isn't it? So it's...
but that's the thing. Your distributor runs out of stock, and you go, cool, I've got to wait for them to get restocked, and then suddenly everyone's then waiting. Same with like Pokemon, the most recent set, we sold out of in 2 days, and we'll get a restock maybe at some point. And whereas other previous sets, they've lasted till the next set released, and you can't judge it. So, like the last few Magic sets, thank God, have actually been really popular. But then, because they're popular, you think, oh, I need a restock. Can I have one?
Yeah.
And then it's that balancing act of, I don't want to order tons of it, because actually, when do people have their fill? Because again, with Magic being quite regular with releases now, you think, I want to have enough to have, but not so much that when the next set comes out, I'm sitting on loads of product as well.
Yep.
So it's a balancing act that I really, really enjoy. It's wonderful. That sort of deadpan. It's fantastic. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's really interesting because apparently they're doing a restock of Kamigawa boosters as well. So they've just printed a whole raft of those again. It's like, actually, that set was quite a while ago now.
But that set's out of production and has been for a long time.
Yeah, but apparently...
It's rotated out of standard.
Yeah. But I don't know why it's happening. Yeah. I got an email saying, oh, yeah, it's being reprinted.
I suspect it probably was, because wasn't it at one point one of their most popular sets outside of Lord of the Rings or something?
Yeah, Kami, was really popular.
I mean, it was fantastic. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah. Maybe that's why you're not getting your Foundations, because they fired up the printers for that for some reason.
Who knows? Yeah, I think there's again, I wouldn't want to be Wizards, because balancing demand and everything, like, if people say, so, but why is a company run out of stock? You go, well, if I'm Wizards, I print 1 million, I sell 1 million, I'm a hero. If I print 1,000,001 and sell 1 million, I've got one left on the shelf, so I'm therefore, my product is bad because I haven't sold it all.
Yeah.
So it's that fine balancing act.
We were talking about this the tail end of the last pod, actually, weren't we, Don? We were talking about the Marvel Secret Lair and how there was quite a feel bads, or a lot of people had a feel bads surrounding around it. And my point always was, from my perspective and from my business, if I have a demand, I will try and increase my supply to meet that demand. Whereas it seems like that Wizards, rightly or wrongly, exactly how you've just pitched it, Matt, like they have an amount and they're like, we'd rather sell all of it and weather the storm of people going, I can't get a hold of Foundations, I can't blah, 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 than release too much of it where they're having to, they have done in the past, off to landfill site it goes, or probably burn it, or who knows. Like, do you know what I mean? There must be a very fine line for them.
And that's the thing. It's that perception of leaving money on the table. Because, like we said, if you print 1 million Secret Lairs and you sell 1 million, heroes all round. If you print 1 million Secret Lairs and sell 500,000, you are the villain, because actually you've not sold everything. You end up dumping it and stuff like that.
But that's interesting, because that's you've sort of said they're heroes for doing that, but it's a perspective thing. They're hero from their boards, but not
not the answer to though. Yeah.
Well, look, I know. I'm trying to pitch the other side of this coin, which is, you are dead right. To their board members, they're like, great, you've sold everything you've printed. There's no money left on the table. Fantastic. So they love all of that. Whereas, say, like the Marvel Secret Lair is a great example about this, because you've now got, I couldn't put a figure on it, but you've definitely got a large percentage of people going, well, I would have loved to have got hold of this product, whereas I can't.
And I think you've then got the difference of hobbyist versus company. And like as a hobbyist, we want to get hold of things we want to have. And we want it to be in production and wonderful and good quality. Whereas a company just go, I don't care. All I want to do is sell my product, make it as cheaply as I humanly can, and sell it all. That's all they're interested in. And I think some of the hobby companies, like the bigger you get, the more corporate you have to become.
Yeah, okay.
So if you get like a little independent model designer, if something is wrong and it's miscast, they will send you a new bit with a note and a bag of sweets and their firstborn kind of thing, because they go, oh no, it's not right. This is like my business on the line here.
Yeah.
Whereas we've seen with bigger entities where you go, oh, this is a misprint. That's nice. Please prove that came out of my pack, or please prove that came out of that box. Show me that your envelope was empty. Did you record you opening it? No, then I don't care. And I think this is where there's always going to be that disjoint between the corporate world and the hobbyists that they're trying to support. And it's the running joke of Hasbro versus Wizards. And actually, are Wizards' bad decisions Wizards making the decisions, or is it Hasbro telling them what to do?
Yeah.
And it's probably a bit of both, because it has to kind of be, because otherwise, why would you stay at Wizards if you're being just told by your parent company, do this, it's bad, everyone will hate you? Well, we saw some of the decisions or some of the fallout with like the Commander bans and the Marvel Secret Lair and the D&D OGL. It's the change from Secret Lairs from print to demand to set levels. The price changes, the card quality, the foils at Pringle before you've opened the pack. There are so many things.
I was going to say, there is a limit, and what companies tend to do, and Wizards have been doing it, like things for Arena, where they will roll out a change or announce a change, and everyone's going, whoa, that is disgraceful, and they'll roll it back slightly, and then it becomes acceptable. So they put the worst possible version into your mind. It's like, okay, that's not good. Okay, we'll backpedal slightly. Okay, that's a bit better, and then that happens. And you see it a lot in the gaming industry as well.
Yeah. Well, we've had the hoo-ha with AIR and all that sort of things. Like Magic and D&D are built on the quality of their artwork.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you see is, here's my video of some AI background. Pay an artist, guys. You have the money. Get over it. Just do it properly, because otherwise everyone is going to call you out on it. There was the Pinkertons incident that everyone still harps on about. And you go, but also those that shout on the internet about it don't know the full story. So they go, oh, you've done this terrible thing. But actually, if you look beneath the surface, you go, oh, this person bought that product from their LGS. No, they didn't.
No, exactly.
Yeah, because that product did not exist at an LGS.
Yeah.
So that product came from somewhere and was obtained in a way. And again, I'm also speculating the other way. And they said, oh, they just sent these people around. No, they sent multiple communications saying, this product you cannot have, please return it. And then you go, stuff is going to happen. Yeah. So I think it's the thing of, there are always three sides to every story.
That's
Your
just
side, their side, and the
internet, though, isn't it? Like nowadays, like it's the same as like a conspiracy theory. There is a shred of truth behind it, but it's built on there's a shred of truth that's built on the foundations of that truth, and then the rest of it just spirals out of control, and that's where the wildness comes from. Like, the problem is I think that's the other side. Is like, there's a demographic of players that want to think of Wizards as always being the bad guy, and of course they sent debt collectors round to someone to kick down their door and retrieve their product. But you kind of when you unpack that, you kind of like, no, like they're not going to do. They're only going to do that for good reason. It's the same as.
Well, I would say if there was a good reason, they would have sent the actual police. But they had no way of proving a crime had been committed in any way, so they send a private security firm to threaten the guy's life and take it back.
The problem is this is the issue. This is the issue, like, isn't it? Because let's be honest. If proper intellectual property, designs to a new battery that's going to revolutionize the world, we're talking big money. That becomes another level. When we're talking about effectively product from a trading card game, I could imagine the police being like, yeah, sorry, we're playing cops and robbers here, man. You guys deal with it yourself.
Well, obviously, had no evidence that a crime had been committed. Well, that's the fact that he got them, at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is there are so many decisions that can be made, and Wizards have a habit of usually making the worst one.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm quite happy to call them out on their good things. I maybe sometimes a bit more defensive than some others, but yeah, I can't really argue with that one. They do tend to do that.
Recently, they've done good stuff like Foundations. Fantastic product.
Yeah, I love Foundations. We're talking about that.
It's one of those things. It's one of those things we just go, do you know what, guys? You've set out a stand and gone, we want to bring standard back to like be a really good like Premiere format. So we're going to give it a good baseline to work with. We're going to give you loads of new cards, good core beginner product that, let's face it, was very missing. Things like the 30 card starter decks are back. I went, I'm so happy. I saw them turn up in the box and went, this is my prayers have been answered. You've actually done something good. They brought back MSRP. Thank you, Lord.
Yeah. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, so don't go into that too much.
I will rant about that later. That's absolutely fine. But yeah, so Foundations, solid product. Like the start of the collection is like the old Deck Builder Toolkit. You've got proper beginner product. You've got boxes that are slightly cheaper as well because you're going, well, this is a core set. So actually, they've priced it based on that idea. You haven't got Commander product. Thank God, just be gone, sort of thing. You've actually just gone, right, we're going to have a set with a defined purpose and we're going to stick to it. And you go, yes, that seems like a sensible plan and a good idea. And you go, yeah, Wizards, this is really good. Like they did a virtual retailer summit to tell like retailers what's going to be happening over the next little while. Obviously, I can't talk about what they talk about, but it's good to actually have that.
Yep.
And the fact that like they call this like the Foundations era, and have kind of like done articles saying, right, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. This is our idea. This is our roadmap for the next year. This is what we're doing with Universes Beyond. Here's the dates for all the set, like the next 4 sets. We're going to do 6 standard sets a year, and I'll just put my head in my hand and cry for a little bit.
6 a year is wild, isn't it?
But you think to yourself, oh, good, they've done all this good stuff, and then you go, oh God, 6 standard sets a year, so that means a release every 2 months. My bank balance is going to shout at me. And you then go, if my bank balance is going to shout at me, my players' bank balance is also going to shout at them. And suddenly you go, well, have I as an LGS now got to adjust my order levels to account for product coming more regularly and probably not being bought in the same volumes?
A really fair point.
But then they've also said, here's Final Fantasy, and people are going, I want it all, give it to me now, I'll buy all your stock. And you go, right, but you don't know how much it's going to be yet. They went, oh no, I want to buy all of your stock. So again, it's that balance of, I don't know what to do here, guys. Do I buy 6 boxes or 600 boxes? And there's no right answer. Like Innistrad Midnight Hunt, I went, yeah, I'm going to buy it as a normal set. Fantastic. And it sold like rubbish. Commander Masters almost bankrupted me.
Wow.
If I'm being honest, that set,
it was
on another day of the week. On another day of the week, could have closed my business, because you go, it's horrifically expensive to purchase. I ordered it thinking this is going to sell like gangbusters, because like the first spoiler preview, Demonic Shooter, fantastic, guys. I can't wait for the rest. And you go, so that was a good card in the set. Awesome. I'm just going to sit down and have a little cry. And it took ages for it to sell straight. It eventually went, but it was bad. It was not a good, and like having set and draft boosters. Who thought that was an idea?
Mm-hmm.
Which I like play boosters, but again, reducing the cards and making it 14 cards in the pack, you've then changed the draft experience, and now you can be blown out by like a list card or a special guest or whatever they're called nowadays. So again, every good decision has like a interesting decision linked to it. The old Chinese proverb there. And you just think, come on, Wizards, just have multiple good sets. Like when Bloomburrow came out, I thought, oh, this could be it. We're going to have 3 good sets in a row. Come on, Dustmourn, don't let the team down. So like Bloomburrow, fantastic. Dustmourn, solid. Foundations, really good. And now I'm going, right, Ether Drift. Don't let the side down, guys. Don't mess this up. Don't change anything.
I love vehicles, so I'm going to enjoy the set regardless. But
it's a case of Chandra was the face of the set. I went, I'm fully on board with this. Chandra on a motorbike. Yep. That's that. I'm done.
Of course you are.
Put a fork in me, I'm done, guys, kind of thing. And then they go, and we're going to make 30 packs in a box. And I went, oh, it was all going so well. What have you done?
So this is an announcement that kind of came to light today, I think, for the general public.
An announcement that's never been announced. There is no announcement.
Yeah, you will only get 30 play boosters in a booster box instead of 36 from Ether Drift forwards.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think before the point you mentioned, actually, normally you would draft a box, then you would have some boosters left over for prizes and things like that. Obviously, that will disappear. So I'd love to hear the reasoning behind it. And apparently it came from feedback from consumers and retailers, but that's an interesting one if that is the case. But
interesting.
I think the jump in booster box prices from draft booster to play booster box was quite significant.
Right, yeah.
So you went from like, well, prices vary because there was no MSRP, which again we'll talk about later. But there was quite an increase in cost. So suddenly a booster box is going up by a considerable amount. So actually reducing the boosters makes sense to bring those boxes back to be more affordable. But it's a case of, at what point do you look at your product in the market and go, have I got my price point correct? Because you look at Pokemon, you look at Flesh and Blood, you look at Yu-Gi-Oh!, you look at One Piece, you look at Dragon Ball, and I could go on for about 10 minutes listing every other card game in a known universe. And you go, where Wizards and Magic sit at the top of that price point. But you get 14 cards or 15 cards or whatever it is nowadays in a pack. Pokemon, you get like 10. Yu-Gi-Oh! You get, it depends on the set. So there are so many things to consider. And again, it's good to see that Magic uses proper artists. And again, all that artwork costs money, and there is a good amount of new artwork every set. So like, they don't recycle artwork that often unless it's like a reprint set. So you can see the cost of a set, and actually the design time, the play testing time, the printing time, and all such and so on and so forth. And you go, yeah, I can see all that, but at what point do you price yourself out of the market in a luxury hobby market anyway?
Yeah.
And it's, again, interesting when you look at like different card games, like Pokemon, people play it, but actually people collect it.
Yeah.
So like for Pokemon, graded cards, like the chase rares, that is what people care about. The bulk stuff is put in a bin, for want of a better phrase. Whereas Magic, you see posts saying, oh, I'm going to grade this card, and people go, why? Why are you bothering? Because all we'll do is crack it out of the pack and put it in the deck. Is it a serialized card? Cool, we might care about that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, we just want to play with the cards. We don't care about the intrinsic value of them. You don't get, like, you'll see Pokemon YouTube channels saying, oh, I pulled this card worth £1 billion. And they go, if it's PSA 10, it'd be worth 10 billion. And you go, but it's not, mate, because it's come out of a pack and it looks garbage. Whereas you don't get the same thing for Magic. You don't get that, oh, I pulled this random 50p rare. Didn't I do well? I think it's that mindset of the various card games and the communities that they have with them. And it's quite interesting to watch. Like we have loads of Magic players come in, and they buy product to play with. So actually, they'll mainly buy singles because they're looking for specific cards for their decks. Or they'll go, do you know what, I fancy a cheeky booster. Whereas Pokemon players come in and they go, I don't play the game, I just want to collect shiny cards. Awesome. And it's a completely different
I'm wondering
entity.
if, the Marvel stuff will create that crossover. You will have people who are collecting it just to have the cards as well, more so than previous sets.
I think Lord of the Rings collectors are fanatical.
I think the way that they print cards as well is different. Sorry to interrupt, Matt. Because they are now focusing on, they've got so many different printings of a particular card. You've got the guest spots. You've basically got the serialized and the premium side of stuff. That is where the top end is pushing towards, and I wonder if that is trying to fuel it and build it. But I think what you're was effectively going to say is Lord of the Rings probably would have been that first acid test, because as I sort of said to you, Dom, on the last pod, a friend of mine who has nothing to do with Magic the Gathering, who knows I have something to do with Magic the Gathering, but loves Lords of the Rings, put 2 and 2 together and started asking me about collecting Lord of the Rings cards. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting, because of his love of Lord of the Rings. So that's obviously the power of Universes Beyond, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think we saw the same thing like the 40k decks and the Fallout decks. With the 40k ones, they're going, how do we convert 40k players into a pile of money? And sometimes it worked, where people would go, do you know what, I'm just going to buy the full set and play at home with these decks as they are. And then you had, some of the cards in those decks became staples in Legacy and stuff like this. It's going to go, oh no, this is now a problem, because how do I reprint it?
Yeah.
How do I reprint a Space Marine?
Yeah.
The answer is you don't. And you can't.
They didn't call them human warriors, they called them Astartes, which didn't exist in Magic.
And interestingly, this is off on a tangent already. So when Universes Beyond first came out, they said, oh yeah, with Walking Dead. Walking Dead, a classic example. Everyone said, why the hell is Rick so good? How am I meant to put him in my deck? It's Rick. Where's my Magic version of him? And a little while later, they printed the Universes Within version, which worth pennies.
Yeah.
But now that Universes Beyond is in standard and are full sets, I don't think we're going to see Universes Within prints of those cards.
No, well, I mean, they only made that promise for mechanically unique cards from Secret Lair sets.
Yeah.
So straight away you go that these Final Fantasy cards they won't ever get reprinted, right? In theory, if they've got certain, maybe they will if there's certain generic ones, like Orcish Bowmaster is a good example. They could print that in any Magic set, right? Because it's not a Lord of the Rings name, it's not a Lord of the Rings unique creature type or anything. So that could be reprinted anywhere, whereas you're going to have, if Lightning becomes a Legacy staple, then it's like, how do you reprint that? They might not even have the license to reprint it, depending on all these deals that they're obviously having to make.
Well, you've got things like free running as well. It's like, how do you put that into... How do you put the key ability word of free running into a Magic the Gathering universe? You can't. The only way, I think me and you maybe spoke about this, Matt, at some point the only way you maybe do it is if you make an Astartes warrior that isn't an Astartes warrior. It's basically got all the exact names behind it. It's just basically a reprint, but it's completely different. So it'd be maybe a human warrior or something, a human barbarian or something.
With the Stranger Things one, they made Forever Friends for the.
That's right.
Yeah. But in Astartes, you would have to have a new creature type that would only appear on those cards. Because again, if you make a Space Marine a human, suddenly you fundamentally change what that card does.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you have to make so many changes, like Tyrannid, Necron. You've got all of these unique, heavily trademarked names that you're then going to have to deal with. So I'm not sure if we're going to see these reprints that people hope for. Who knows?
Well, I think you're right there as well. We've spoke about the potential of how they could sort of get around it, but realistically, they may look at this and be like, we don't want to touch this with a barge pole because we've signed a contract, and they might be aware, this, a Star 2's creature type or whatever, insert dodgy knockoff of whatever. They made it to be like, well, come on, you've basically you've printed an Astartes warrior here, sort of thing. So and then these IPs they have or could have a leg to stand on to kind of go, oi, mate, we know what you've been doing, and we're coming after you.
And some of them are quite big and quite litigious.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Well,
it's
fine. It's fine when you're doing Dungeons and Dragons. That's fine. That's kind of in-house to a certain
it's their IP. They own it.
Exactly.
As well.
Yeah, and that's fine to a certain degree. When you start stepping on the toes of like Marvel and the Tolkien estate, all of a sudden you're a bit like, oh no, they got bigger war chests.
Yeah, I've made a faux pas. I have made an error. Please let me reverse.
I
think once they're out of print, they'll just end up getting banned if it becomes too big of a problem to reprint these things.
I think you're right. I think that's probably, from their perspective, the easiest way to deal with that problem. They'll just.
I'm shocked that the One Ring hasn't received a ban in Modern yet.
Wait for December.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, we'll see.
That's everyone's view of life, because the cost of One Ring has plummeted. It dodged the last ban. Everyone's going, really?
Now it's like
54%
of the meta game or something now.
Yeah, I'm just going to put 4 copies in every deck because I can.
Yeah,
I mean, it is that good, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah. And you don't even mind just going, oh, I've got One Ring in play. Cool, I'll play a One Ring and get rid of the old one because I'm going to get rid of all the counters off it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good thing, not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because you know people going, oh, I've got 3. That's my legendary playset. You go, no, just put 4 in, mate. It's a One Ring.
Exactly. Don't mess around with that at all. Yeah. It's either that or you just bounce the living hell out of it. Displace a kitten with it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get the protection with that though, because you have to cast it for that.
You would not. But let's be honest, building up those burden counters and drawing those cards is sweet.
Why are you like this, Alex? Who hurt you as a child?
Hey, you're a dirty blue player. Don't give me that.
I don't. Well, you say that nowadays. I don't even look at my blue and white cards when I do.
No, you're a deep. I
just go, I'm building Jund. It's happening.
Yeah.
I'm building Jund. This is happening. I'm going to force it in every way.
Right.
Hey,
so
Jund them out.
Exactly.
Yep.
So we've sort of. Let's crack on with this now. MSRP then, Matt. I know before they announced this, we had a chat about this months ago, and I know you were talking about this. A desire for it to come back. It's now come back. The Holy Grail has come back, Matt. God has shined upon you and all that sort of stuff. Tell us what that means as an LGS owner. Tell us what MSR means to you. So,
MSRP, manufacturer's recommended suggested price, whatever it is. Suggested retail price. You go, basically, it gives the product a value.
Mm-hmm.
So you go, cool, this booster pack is worth £5.49 or £6 or £7 or £10 or however much. That is what the manufacturer says it's worth.
Yep.
Because what was happening, and I think Wizards themselves touched on this, is whoever got their product online first set the price for the market. And LGSs were getting stung where you would go, I'm going to put a sensible markup on this product for what I can buy it for, and then be told by my community that I'm overpriced. And that is the problem. And because there's no MSRP to say, well, the product is worth this much, I am selling it for less than that, therefore I'm on your side. You go, no, this site is selling it for £1. And you go, yes, and they're losing money. And this is the problem. So
I just want to step in this moment in time. So in Langdon, does that often happen? Do you often have people step into Langdon and sort of say your stock is overpriced? And I don't just mean people being ridiculous, like, oh, there should be £2.50, but I mean legitimately, like, I can go get this cheaper elsewhere.
No. So what we find is we were having to spend a lot of time researching what the market was doing, and then we could make an assessment of what we sell for. And the problem is that takes time, and if you get bigger companies just going, do you know what? I'm going to make £1 on every box I sell.
Yep.
You go, fantastic. I can't compete with that.
Yep.
And this is this is where the issue can come from. But also things like commander decks. So usually, of the 4, one of them is good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or one of them is better than the others, let's say.
Commands
or a card
so
is
suddenly,
in it.
So suddenly, that commander deck is 60 quid, 70 quid, million quid, whatever amount it is. But if you then go on, well, actually, the MSRP is $44.99, and you're selling 50 quid. Sorry, mate. Now you're the villain. Whereas we just go, all our commander decks are the same price. What the cards are in them is irrelevant to us. This product is sold at this price, end of discussion.
Yeah.
So what we then find is the popular one sells out real quick, and the other ones take a little bit longer to sell. But having that benchmark to work with, I think that's the key thing, because like Wizards alluded to, it was he who gets there first sets the market rate, and this was always the issue. And I've heard of other shops being told that they were overpriced because they were trying to sell packs at what is a sensible price, like a $5. In theory, the MSRP is like $5.49, so you're still 50p under that, but you've been, actually I can get it down the road at £3. Go down the road then. And I think that's the thing. If there's no accepted rate, it's that people will have that argument with you where you go, well, what's this worth?
It's a fight to the bottom, not the fight up, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think that was the thing. It was the companies were literally fighting to get it out for the lowest amount possible. And as Wizards, it then devalues your product as well.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to say my product is £5 a booster, £6 a booster, whatever it is, and everyone's selling for £2, your product £2 a booster, mate.
Yeah.
So suddenly it's the LGS that gets stuck in the middle, because the distributor will buy it from Wizards. The consumer will go, I want to pay this much for it. We're being told, well, we can only sell it to you for this much. And you're going, cool, so I make nothing or I make a loss. That's not how this works.
Yeah. That's not a good business plan, is it? Let's be honest. Not a good business model.
It's a choice.
it's a bold one.
It's like like big stores like they can sell stuff at a loss to bring people into the store and things, but actually when you're selling a card game product, the margins are so thin already that you can't afford to do that, or most places wouldn't be able to afford to do that.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Like with no MSRP, suddenly your big box stores are just taking guesses at numbers, and if they guess low or guess wrong, they can dictate the market as well. You go, cool, so that product I want to sell for this much, I now can't because Asda has it for £2. Bugger. And I think this is the problem. You see it across the whole industry. Things like Pokemon Center is a distinct entity from the Pokemon Company, and they set their own pricing. And you go, but if the Pokemon Center is selling something for less than I can buy it for, I'm not buying that product because you go, well, you're price gouging. No, they just have got their prices so low, I can't do anything about it.
Yeah. I do think sometimes, look, I'm a consumer in this scenario as well, so I do understand that, as a consumer, you want to pay. There is a theory behind it. You want to pay as little as possible, and I do understand it. If you've got someone down the road that's selling packs for £6 a pack, and you've got someone down the road for £3 a pack, we all know where we're going to go. You're going to go to the £3 pack. But I think there's a lot more for it, and I think actually me engaging with you guys at the shop, I've always thought this anyway. Look, I run my own business, so I do understand a little bit more. I might not understand exactly the scenario that you guys run in, but I know how a business runs. Maybe there's a bit of sympathy in that respect. But the one thing I always think to myself is, and I've always put my hand on my heart and said this, not just because you're here, I'd rather put my money in your pocket because, like you said earlier, you don't charge for game space. And you've not mentioned it, but to me, you've always been one of the consistently, not lowest prices, but a fair price. And where you have people or other companies that are selling this commander deck with this chase card for 80, 90, £100. I've always seen Langdon have always had it at a fair price. So to me, there's some ethics involved in that, which is we should be championing that. We should be rewarding that, not let's go throw our money at the place that's actively gouging us.
Yeah, well, also on behalf of all LGSs, if people shop online, Amazon is not going to give you a place to play your Magic.
No.
You are not going to go to Amazon and play your board game.
No, you are.
And I think this is a thing of people understanding you have to sometimes be willing to pay a little bit more, but understanding why you're paying that. So if you're going to a venue and if that venue has a cover charge to sit down, their product should be tentatively priced cheap because you're paying to use that space.
Yep.
If you're going to a venue and they go, do you know what, guys, this is all free, but to get that, this is what we sell. And if you don't buy that, then that doesn't exist anymore. And I think this is the key thing of support your local game store, because if you don't, you won't have one.
I think that message is so powerful. It's definitely something that we've all said this, and even outside of friends, outside of the podcast or any of the other creators I've ever come across, they're just as general. And it's not because it's indoctrinated into us. It's a general consensus is exactly what you've just sort of said. If you don't support your local game store, they won't be there because they won't be able to run. If these places, you've sort of said on a number of times, you've made decisions on buying certain products. There's effectively a bit of a gamble involved here. You've actively said Commander Masters, could have bankrupted you. Well, at the end of the day, I'm not sort of saying people then need to swerve in, go into the LGSs and buy loads of stock that they don't necessarily need. That's not what I'm saying at all. But, if you're going to go buy that pack, instead of going, I can get it 50p cheaper online to Amazon, I'd rather give that 50p to you guys 100%.
And if you buy it from Amazon, it will have been opened and resealed with a 2p rare in it as well.
I have. Look, I've had open products from Amazon before.
Really?
Well. Yeah. I've had some of their collections.
It seems to be a common issue.
It's that's why I won't do it anymore. But also, I would legitimately, I'd rather hand my money over to you guys. Your pre-orders are always very competitive, and I don't really have any other reason to go anywhere. But after that, with Amazon, I don't want to get involved in that. I really don't. It's because the problem is the thing that I found even more scary is that I'm not going to say that because I don't know that for certain sure, but I am led to believe that packaging had been supplied to them effectively so they could reseal if there was an issue. But that doesn't leave a lot of confidence, though, does it?
Yeah, the fact you can buy shrink wrap for Pokemon, for Magic, for whatever on Amazon in rolls. The fact that product exists means there is a market for problems to happen. But
exactly. Exactly.
What I do want to touch on is for LGSs in general. If you have an LGS that you enjoy going to, tell them that, give them a good review, support your LGS. Doesn't have to be financial. It can just be interact with a social media post. Give them a Google review, give them a Facebook review, or
really good point.
If an LGS that you're engaging with has a wobble or changes things that you don't like, engage with your local store and say, well, actually, I really like it when you do this, but when you do this, it isn't as good. And I'm not saying that every LGS will listen, but I know what we always do is we're always keen to receive feedback from people and say, look, this is the events we do. This is how we like to do them. Does that work for your community? And if one person says, well, actually, it doesn't work for me, you go, well, that's fine. But one person's voice out of 100, we'll do what we can, but we can't obviously act on it. But if 99 people turn around and say, well, actually, you do events that start at this time, but if you started half an hour later, then we'd all come to them. We go, well, we take that feedback on board. So I think it's a case of engaging with your local store and going, do you know what? If the store succeeds, then you have a place to play and go.
100%.
If your store doesn't succeed, you don't.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you're lucky enough to have multiple LGSs near you, then all power to you, because then you get to pick which one you like and engage with them and do what you want, or you can support all of them. It's up to you as customers. And what we always like to do is say, look, we love seeing everyone. We try and be competitively priced. We try and do events to appeal to a good range of people. And if we get it wrong, tell us.
Yeah.
And that's the key thing.
I have noticed that over the years. I have noticed that over the years, and that's again. I know you're my local game store, and it always sounds like I'm popping on about that, but I think you guys do it so well. And our Facebook group, I know you guys are always the first people to go, right, events. This is what we're thinking of doing. We want your feedback. And I know exactly what you mean by, I read those comments. I don't always have a massive amount to add to them, or if I do, I normally verbally to yourself or to Pete, just because we'll talk about this instead of online. But I do always sort of see that oddity. When you put yourself out there on the online world, there's always going to be that one person like, oh, I finish work at 9:00. Could you start at 9:30? It's like 4 rounds of Magic competition. That's not going to happen. Do you know what I mean? But you did right. But the problem is if one person says it, you could almost be like, look, that's great, and give a good reason. When 99 people say it, then obviously you have to kind of go, right, okay, well, we can't do that time on this day. Is there a day that you guys could then adapt to? And I think that's something that you guys have always been very adaptive to the community around you as well.
Yeah, like for example, we used to start our Magic events at 7. Mm-hmm. And as our player base got older, like jobs, kids, stuff like that, to get home, eat, sort your kids out and get back into town for 7 was actually hard work.
Yeah.
So people would be sort of saying, oh, I'm 10 minutes late, I'm running late, I'll be there at 15:15, that fine. Go. At which point we said, okay, so if we start at 7:30 and we just have 3 compact rounds, we can still be done by 10.
Yeah.
And then people have enough time to get home, grab a cuppa and get back into us.
Yeah.
And I think that's the nice thing about having that community engagement and feedback. It's vital, and like we said, if you're going to support your LGS, it's not just financially.
Yeah.
Yes, if you can buy a product to your local LGS, then I just said local LGS. That's a misnomer, isn't it? Yeah. But you should. But if you really can't, well, actually engage your events. Engage with social media, stuff like that, because otherwise, like I said, if you don't, you won't have these stores to go to.
Well, there's so much more than just products, aren't they? LGSs are so much more than just selling you a product. And that's the beautiful thing about them.
Yeah, for sure. And we've seen so many that haven't survived. Like the pandemic wiped out so many shops. The cost of living crisis wiped out so many shops. Just the general cost of rent rates and existing as a business wipes out shops on a regular basis. Even in like a relatively affluent place like Norwich, where they're big enough to support multiple locations, you get a shop that tweaks its business model, and suddenly that shop is no more.
Yep.
Because they've gone from being a shop to being actually, let's just try and reduce product and go for more of a pay-to-play model. But then everyone's going, but I don't want to do that. I want to come in and buy stuff. And so it's such a difficult balancing act. And as a business owner, you go, right, every time you think, right, am I doing this right? And it's always that not knowing.
Yep. So
sometimes when people turn around and go, do you know what? Really enjoyed that. Really good. Keep it up. You go, oh, sweet. I can sleep at night now. And it's when people come in and go, do you know what? That was a bit rubbish. And you go, fair. That was. You go, yep, totally agree with that.
Played against control players all night. I'm never coming back.
Yeah. But for example, we had the the Commander Guild, Artorias
Guild, yeah.
Guild, yeah.
Yes, yeah. We had those guys in the other month. 32 Commander players who, and like normally our Commander days are free to attend, but we did a paid-for Commander event, and my brain was melting. I went, I don't understand why someone's going to come in and pay to play Commander. I couldn't get my head around it because we're so used to it's free to play. But actually, then doing like a organised, paid-for event with some spot prizes and promos and all that good stuff. I went, actually, you know what? This kind of works. So there is then that scope to do those on occasion, but not to then take away from the fact of this is a space you can use, and just because you haven't got a couple of quid to buy a table with doesn't mean you should be prevented from doing it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But by the same token, you go, all we ask is sign in on the Wizard's Companion app or buy a bag of crisps kind of thing.
Yeah. That's
cheeky booster.
Booster. Yeah. Everyone loves a cheeky booster out the door, don't they? 100%.
Yeah, indeed.
But I think that's
especially 2-pack. See, he loves it.
good old 2-packs. Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
You'll have to convert him to 2-packs of collector boosters, Matt. That's your next thing you need to do.
I mean, that's going to be bold, but we'll work on it. But yeah, I think I've gone off on many tangents. But like we were saying with like the MSRP side of things, it's being able to give a gauge to the value of a product. So you go, right, you know what? A Magic booster is £5.49, a Pokemon booster is £4.29, a Yu-Gi-Oh booster is whatever it is. Flesh and Blood is £4.50. And you go, right, cool. I can now gauge what the value of this is.
Yeah.
And if you see it being sold for £3, £4, £5, £6, £7, you can go, actually, that's the point I'm expecting. If it's lower than that, fantastic. If it's higher than that, what's this place doing?
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think also, and it's not really been mentioned, but I actually think an MSRP actually gives a gauge of confidence as well. And what I mean by that is that an MSRP is there for everyone. So it's there to protect us as consumers, but it's also there for you guys as owners to have, look, you're a business, you're looking to sell a product and you have to make money on your markup. So if that markup is a point that could be the difference between we can put some coppers in the bank here and that will build up and then we can reinvest back into it. That, from my perspective, I think that's a good thing because I like I said, I run a business. I know what it's like. Businesses don't run on, I've made as much as I've put back into this. I'm now net zero. Rinse and repeat. That's not how that works. Like, particularly if you want a business to expand, when people sort of come in, could you sell... I don't know, it doesn't really matter. But anyway, they want you to expand your product range and you're sitting there thinking, do I have the demand? No. Could I? Potentially. It gives you those opportunities, that bit of flexibility. But from us as well, like if I know a packet's going to be £5 and you walk into somewhere down the road and they're selling it for £8, you could be like, oh, come on, that's taking the mickey. Like I think it gives consumer confidence as well as you guys that little bit of margin to work with as well. I think it's a good thing personally. It's clarity. We all know what it's supposed to be instead of, the cheapest price is an online retailer that buys in the millions box load so they can sell it for that. Or like Don was sort of saying earlier with like an Asda sort of thing, they can sell at a loss because it gets people into their store or whatever, 100%. Okay.
Yeah.
One last thing I just kind of want to go over with you guys. So for many a year, one of the first things I normally do when I walked into Langdon was say, Matt, what cheeky singles have you got for me? And that is something that's recently changed, hasn't it? And talk to us about the effects of singles within LGSs now. Obviously, I know you're not going to speak for every LGS, but for Langdon particularly, obviously you made the decision to stop selling singles. Why don't you talk us a little bit through that? Because I've had this conversation with you already, and I found it really interesting. And I thought it's the type of thing that actually should be discussed a little bit more so. Because again, it has this knock on. We're talking about supporting LGSs, but I think what we're about to talk about actually has that knock on for you guys, doesn't it?
So I think singles are a really interesting one because they are a lot of effort and maintenance to make work. So you need a big range. You need to have the cards that people want, and you need to be able to restock those cards and also sell them at a price that people are willing to pay. But then that then crashes into, how do I restock? So Cardmarket is my favourite boogeyman of singles, because the market dictates itself.
Yeah.
So you go, right, this is my chase card from this set. I want to get 300 quid for it. I'm the only person selling it in the UK, therefore it's worth 300 quid. If an LGS goes, oh, cool, I'll buy it from you, and you go, cool, it's 300 quid, then you go, well, I've then got to sell it for 400 quid or 500 quid or 301 quid to make some money on that. So you end up with going, well, how do I go about doing this? And for lots of shops, you don't want to be sat on tons of product, because space is money. And even things like having singles sorted so you can then easily and quickly find your stock, keeping up to date with prices, because again, unless you have an automated system, doing it manually is soul destroying. But there's this point where you go from being a small single seller to a really big one, and where you can have like the automated machinery, the website that tracks prices from various locations and goes, you know what, it does it then for you.
Yeah.
And we had 260,000 singles, which is a mental number of cards.
Wow.
But of that, 80-90% of it was bulk common.
Yeah.
And you go, I need to have it because one day someone's going to come in and say, do you have? And you go, I do, mate, actually.
Normally me,
Yeah, but it's being able to balance the space it needs to store that, and then the reliability in which it's going to sell. So you go, cool, I've got stuff from the dark or revised, and you go, it's worth 10p at most. It's never going to sell because it's a card that is unplayable.
Yep.
And if, like, for example, someplace I know, they have a dedicated online presence and like a team of 15 people that just do singles. And you go, I can't compete with that, therefore I'm not going to.
Yep.
Because it's again also customer expectation. Customer comes in with a list for a commander deck and goes, I would like these 100 cards. And you go, fantastic, please come back in 3 to 5 working days. And they go, no, I would like them now, please. But I'm here on my own, it's a Saturday. I have a queue of 10 people. I cannot spend an hour finding these 100 cards for you. So I think it's that doing it live versus online. Because actually, an online order takes the customer a little while to find all the cards. And when it comes in, you go, cool, I know where they are. I can find them, can get them posted. But again, it's when that order is 100 cards and you go 5p, 10p, 20p. Oh no, I can't find that copy of that one. Help. So singles are really labour intensive. And if you have a really good system and it's all sorted and all ready to go, then fantastic. And if you're able to dedicate the time and resource to do it, that's great. But the problem is small LGSs like us physically haven't got that capacity. So what we're finding is smaller shops are stopping singles or like changing to like bulk boxes where you just go, they're just going to get destroyed really quickly. And then it's like consolidating into either bigger shops or individual sellers where someone just goes, do you know what, I've got a collection, I'm going to sell it and I'm going to spend the time doing it. So things like Facebook groups, Cardmarket, etc. So like we used to use Troll Trader for our pricing, and we used to go, right, they're selling it for this, I'm going to knock 10% off, that's going to be my price. Which for some things was fantastic, for other things you go, ooh, that's a bit of a difference in price. But it worked. But it was that, again, keeping up and maintaining and just the physical effort of doing that. Yeah. So you could spend half a day looking for a £10 order. And you go, well, actually, if I could spend that half a day tidying, restocking, researching, checking things, that's more effective use of my time than finding 10 quid worth of singles.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of the problem we found. It's like pre-internet, happily sit there with a magazine, work out the pricing. Show my age now. But yeah, so in those eras, you could literally get, prices weren't as flexible. So now a set meta is solved quite quickly, but then you see spikes in the market that you have to react to. Because we had it where we would have cards that were worth nothing. So it would be sat on the website for months. And then the next day you come in, you have sold 100 copies of this card. You get fantastic. The price is now 20 quid a card. You sold it for 10p. Wonderful. Someone has just spiked me. So it's that being able to maintain a stock, keep it in good condition, physically deal with it and the space it takes up. It got to the stage where we, especially with the increased price of product. So I think in Wild Drain was one of the last sets we opened. We opened 6 boxes, got the cards from it, and then went, right, how much have we made in value from those 6 boxes over a couple of months? And we would have been better off selling the boxes. And I think that's the thing. You go, I've sold a handful of cards, great. But also what we're finding is cards would go pre-order at one price, release, spike in price, and go, I've already sold those. And this is the thing, because it's a secondary market and Wizards, rightly or wrongly, have no interest in it. Admittedly, conspiracy theorists will say otherwise. Secret Lair, mentioning their names. But it's being able to keep on top of that. And if we had a team of 30, then yeah, cool, singles would be great. But it's being able to do that and knowing sort of some of the big single sellers, a small like county town LGS ain't going to be able to do that.
Yeah. I hear.
Yeah, but also what you'll find is like using Pokemon as an example, those sellers will be dealing with specific higher end cards and not the range of cards, because Magic cards are play pieces, they're not considered in the same way like collectibles.
Sure.
It's a case of no, I want 4 copies of this, 2 copies of that, 1 copy of that, because that's my deck. And then everyone wants the same cards. And you go, this card is not in the deck, therefore that card's not going to sell. Commander helps. Because you go, I want this random card from 1994 because it's funny. You go, fantastic. I will sell you that one card. What about the rest?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's the formats help, but it's the time, effort, storage, the physical weight of them. The amount of times you like pick up the box and go, oh, if they fell on me, that would be a problem. I would be dead.
Yeah.
Or inevitable, the box splits when you hold it, you go, oh no, 4,000 cards, I've just sorted them. Please, God save me. But yeah, I think a lot of it is that. But things like Cardmarket and Facebook groups are, again, it's who can sell quickest at the cheapest. Because it's a classic. You go, oh, on Cardmarket is this. So if I put my copy on Cardmarket for 20p less, it will sell first. And that's the thing. So as an LGS, you go, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I need to, if I bought this card for X, I want to try and get Y for it. If that card then spikes, fantastic. If that card then tanks because it gets banned the next day, you go, oh, I've made a faux pas. So if we had done singles when like the commander bans happened, you go, well, actually they're quite sought after cards, so the chances of having a huge stock of them would be quite slim. But you go, oh, that's going to hurt my soul a little bit, especially like Jewel Lotus, which went from being worth a fortune to nothing.
Yeah.
Yep. I was going to say, I think there's been many stories and many reports of LGSs that basically started to buy this stuff in and then got caught out with the bans, just like other people. You know, it's
and I think again, if you're dealing with volume, you can do it. But even things like the tax implication and stuff like that, because you then have to split out VAT and non-VAT and paying even the accounting for it. You go, yep, this is fine. This is absolutely fine. It's not going to give me a headache for weeks at all.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's behind the scenes things of actually you have to account for these things differently.
Yeah.
If I've paid VAT for it, I have to charge VAT on it. But then how do I do singles? Because if I crack a box, I have to pay VAT on that. But if I've brought it in from a customer, it's second hand. I have to then pay VAT on the difference and the profit. And you go, that's a problem because I can't keep that stock separate. So singles as an entity is actually just a headache.
Yeah.
If you're an individual who just goes, money in, money out, that's fine. Or I'm just doing the odd card here and there on Cardmarket, fine. But for a small LGS, it's a problem. For the big, like mega LGSs or dedicated sellers, they've got the teams to do it.
Yeah, I was going to say, they've probably got a team back of house that's basically doing online sales, and that's basically their job. You've got 5 people that are literally sitting there sorting through cards continuously, pulling them out, putting them to one side. Someone that's checking them off against the system, someone else that's backing them up, and someone else that's shipping them off. Yeah,
and like when we got rid of all our singles, the guys we got rid of them to said, if we're sorting cards, we expect to take maybe 4 seconds to find the card I'm looking for. And you go, wow, cool, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible.
But knowing where that card is in your stock, you go, I'm going to find it in 4 seconds.
That's just crazy, isn't it?
I can't do that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even know what box the set was in 4 seconds,
exactly.
to be fair. Here we go. I think that's box 60, mate.
Symbol,
Might be 61. Yeah, what's this card? What? That was printed? Oh, God. Yeah. But that's the thing. If you have the time and resource and dedication to do it, you can be fine. And again, it's being able to, trading in cash or credit and stuff like that. So actually, it's maintaining like a cash positive position. So if someone comes in and says, "I've got a collection, I want 10 grand for it," you go, "Okay, if I give you 10 grand, I've then got to recoup that." And then it's trying to explain to someone that actually that 10 grand collection you think it's worth is actually maybe worth 5, and I'm going to give you 2 for it because I need to make the money back. So it's conversation. Go, do you know what? That's not for me.
But that's not on you. Things you see this on TV programs the whole time, like the classic. I don't know if you guys have ever seen like the American shows, like Porn Stars or something like that. Like it's always the classic. So someone, so not that type. But people wander in and they're like, "Oh yeah, I got told this is worth 10 grand," and they look at it and they go, "Yeah, it is worth 10, but I've got to sell it for 10. That means I've got to buy it off of you for 7.5, 8." And then you see their faces and they're like, "Oh, but you're just diddling me." You're like, "Nope, that's the model. That's what I have to do. Because if I give you 10, I then have to sell it for 12, and everybody walks in going, it's worth 10. I'm not paying 12 for it." So it just sits there, and it's how these things work. So like, I think that's on us as the consumer to realize that as well. Obviously, we want to get a bargain just like anyone else, but again, there has to be a fairity to that, and I think
and that's one of the reasons why things like Pokemon cards we don't touch, because thanks to YouTube and similar, people walking going, "I've got this Pokemon card. YouTube says it's worth 10 grand," and you go, "No." If it was perfect condition and graded a grade 10 from PSA, maybe, but that's been torn in half, mate. And they go, "But YouTube says," and you go, "No." Again, there are criteria here you have not met. And that's the thing. Like, even like in franchise players that know the value of their cards, you go, "Well, actually, you can sell that on Cardmarket 50 quid, but you have to deal with the shipping and you have to deal with staffing around. Or I'll give you 30 quid for it right now. Jobs are good, and I might sell it, I might not." But it's that again, time, effort, negotiation. Feel bad when it gets banned. Feel bad from a customer when it spikes the next day, and you go, "Sorry, mate, you sold it to me." So actually, stepping away and just doing sealed product events, and it gives you time to focus on those specifics rather than going, "This is a thief of time." Because, like I said, spending a morning to find 100 cards that there's a 10 quid order.
It's not a good use of your time. Like you said, to be quite honest, even if it's take you an hour to do that for £10, you could restock. You could restock your shop. You could do general cleaning. You could go to the cash and carry and get drinks. Do you know what I mean? Like the things that are actually going to, earn a bit of money, or support the people that are going into your store.
Yeah, and also you've also got to consider things like someone placed an order on a Friday night, so you're in the middle of F&M, you're not going to think about it then. You go Saturday, I'm not going to think about it then either. Sunday, now it's still busy, mate. I'm not open on Monday, so the first time I'm even going to look at picking that order is Tuesday, and you think, well, that was made on Friday night, so I'm now 4 days in before I've even picked the order, so I'm going to then post it Wednesday, so it's taking you almost a week to get there. Or you have the other thing where a set comes out on a Friday, so it turns up with your door on a Wednesday. You've got to crack it, sort it, count it, list it in the evening. And then Thursday, you go, right, here we go again, because I'm going to have the same problem. So it's capacity, I think, more than anything.
No,
yeah. If I had an unlimited team of people that worked for free, then I'd do singles all day long. Yeah, well, I believe they outlawed that a few years ago.
As much as I do miss the singles at Langdon, I do honestly understand it as well. You know, I've always sort of said that to you. I thought, well, you know, you guys stood there behind the counter for 45 minutes looking for, you know, my 10, 15, 20 cards that I'm effectively going to give you £3.50 for. It doesn't make it, to me, this never made business sense. So I totally get it.
Yeah, it's a high end single that comes in and goes out the next day. They're the perfect ones. It's the worthless common that sits there for 10 years and you go, one day you're going to spike, one day, and it never does. Yeah, when you've then got 100,000 of them, you go, maybe time to get rid of those.
Yeah.
But even that, because you go, well, actually, even stupid thing like your insurance, you go, right, what's this collection worth? Well, I don't know. Pick a number. And that's the thing, you go, well, it might be worth 100 grand because it's 100,000 cards. But actually, you go, well, what value could I realise from it? And it just becomes a nightmare and go, prove what you had. Okay.
Prove
How do I do that? Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I had these 27 Black Lotuses. They were all PSA 10s and signed by Christopher Rush. And they're all worth £1 million each. And the insurance company goes, and you can go away.
Yeah, and you can't blame them, really, can you?
But that's the thing. It's one of those stock items where a flood wipes out your inventory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you go,
Ouch.
I'm out. Yeah, could you imagine?
Oh God, yeah. I've heard about the damage. So like floods over in the States will do to like people's guitar collections and stuff like that, and it's literally just like you can't do anything with them. They're done. They're absolutely gone. So yeah, I can only imagine that would be with trading card collections as well. That must be the type of thing you never want to hear of, and you certainly never want to see. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like even our own collections, you think, well, actually, how do I store that? Because you've got like, I know I've got like collections of artist proofs, and you go, well, they're triple sleeved in top loaders in a top loader folder in like a cupboard that is in a part of the house where you go, well, this cannot be got by anything. So unless the house burns down, you're kind of fine.
I do love your collection. Your collection is always a treat to go through. It really is. I love it. Yeah,
it's then we'll look at it and go, well, how much? Oh no, don't. I don't. No, it's one of those things you go, no, I can't consider this.
Yeah, don't ever ask those questions. It's like there's an unwritten rule, isn't there? You never talk about the value of your trading cards around your loved ones. Like
it's like you go to a museum, they don't have prices on all the exhibits, do they? So
exactly. Well, that's the thing. I look at things like my Liliana collection and stuff, and you go, oh, here's like 34 Lilian availables in various rarities. Awesome. Cool. Oh no, what have we done? Yeah, Matt, why have you got like 10 playsets of this card? Because I like it. And some are signed. And some are in different languages and like art printings, and it's great. Yeah.
God, love it. I do love your collection. 100%.
But yes.
Right.
Yeah, so I think I think we've talked everything to death.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we're at the end of it. Look, first of all, I want to thank you for coming on, Matt, because honestly, I think hearing from the LGS perspective is really important, and I think we should hear more of it because, you know, as creators or anybody that puts anything out there, you know, a lot of people always be like, oh, support your LGS first, blah, blah, blah. I think we all believe that. But it's nice to hear it from the horse's mouth and for the real reason. And that real reason is I'm a business, I want to, you know, earn every penny out of you. It is that support. And you guys really are the backbone and the hub of the community. You know, not only are you the play space, you know, you are the Facebook groups that allows people to get together. You are the people that sell the product, yes, but you are also the people that when you are in these collected areas that, you know, people will pop up and grab drinks or snacks from you, that sort of stuff. Like, do you know what I mean? Or could get you into other... It is such a community-driven thing.
It's a thing of, well, actually, how do you learn to play Magic? That's the thing. You either use Arena, which is fine, but where's the gathering in Arena? You're playing a faceless computer game, or you can come into an LGS, sit down with someone and go, this is the game. And naturally, that's how I started, because there was no computer version. Technically was, I think, back in that era. Computer did exist. But the fact that someone sat down and said, right, this is Yu-Gi-Oh!, this is Magic, this is how it works, come to this event, meet some people, and I think that's the core. It's the whole gathering part of Magic.
Yeah, it is the gathering.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, because then you see, like, friendship groups and that develops from it, and you go, yeah, do you know what, that's really cool, because otherwise these people might not have met and relationships would not have formed and so on and so forth.
No, I've met people within your store, I've met people out in the UK community now, you know, and a lot of them they are my friends now, and I would have never have bumped into them. There are people they've crossed paths over the years but never directly, but it is that community and it brings together. And you know, it sounds, you know, like a cliche sort of thing or whatever, but they all stem from, I believe they all stem from an LGS. I really do. You know, I truly believe you guys are the backbone of the community, and it takes people like yourself to put yourself out there to go and do it, because not everyone wants to open a store or supply space. So, you know, it's going to sound a bit bizarre really, but you know, thank you for providing your services that you do, because it allows us as players to thrive and enjoy the game that we all love. Because you don't have to do that, do you?
No, and that's the thing. I've always joked and said, if it ever felt like a job, that's the day I stopped doing it. So I find it fun to do, and the day I wake up and go, do you know what, I don't fancy it, is a day I just go, oh, time to move on, guys.
Yeah.
And touch wood that day has never come. And just think, if we'd never met, you would never get to hear my like angry old man rants. So what more do you want in life?
Always a treat.
I do love. I do love your old man shouts at cloud moments. It does. We haven't actually mentioned it, but obviously, you and a friend of you host a podcast as well, don't you? Why don't you just quickly tell us about that? Because I thoroughly enjoy it. I do. I am an avid listener.
We did a podcast before podcasts were cool. Yeah. I think we started in like like 2014 kind of thing. We were talking like years ago. It was a podcast called Journeys and Fandom. So it's me and my friend Tim, and we talk about our experiences like as fans. So in version 1, it was when we've been to like events and conventions and doing like lookalike and TV work and all sorts of fun things. And now it's us 10 years on, older, fatter, grumpier, and just more jaded with life. And we occasionally do journeys in politics as well. So we like talk about the US election, the UK election, and just rage about stuff.
Yeah.
It's basically two old men who have decided that enough is enough. We're just going to be honest about stuff we like to talk about.
That is exactly what it is. And that's why I love it. I mean, you know, there's never, I mean, the moments, I mean, there's been some classics over the episodes where I would just, I know you well enough that I can just almost see you like in this like perpetual, like literally screaming at the clouds, and I love it. I just absolutely love it.
Well, for example, when the Chrome remake came out, I subjected myself to seeing it in the cinema because I was that angry at it. I had to sit and hate watch it to then do an hour's podcast, which was basically me shouting for a full hour just going, I hate this film and all it stands for.
You were very upset on that one. You were very
I was
upset.
not a happy man. And the joke was I bumped into one of our shop customers in the foyer before the film started, and I said, "Oh, what are you seeing?" He goes, "Oh, Crow." Oh, it's going to be bad. He goes, "Oh, I've heard things." I went, "No, it's going to be bad." And his partner walked over and said, "Oh, I've heard it's quite good." I went, "No, it's going to be bad." And the fact that I just sat there,
could
just
never
like
remake, the
fact that I was probably like sat on my seat, like hovering about 6 inches above it, just glaring through the screen, just going, "Why do I hate you so much?" But yes, I had to then track down said customer, apologise to him for going, "I'm sorry if I was a little bit intense, but I have feelings about this film."
It's just the passion that pours through.
Boy.
The passion and the anger that flares through. But
I don't think I've sworn that many times in 1 hour in my life. It was just an angry boy. But hey, if I would sort of say, obviously, to anyone listening, that go check it out. Journeys to Fandom. I mean, I thoroughly enjoy it. What it's great for me is I do a lot of driving, so it's fantastic just to have on in the background. I know people that will listen to this podcast while they're working or driving as well, so it's the perfect type of thing for that. And you just like to hear my dulcet tones. That's all it is.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. But anyway, look, once again, Matt, thank you for coming on and spending some time with us. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm sure Dom has as well. Although, as what always happens in these podcasts, I sit there and rant over the top, and Dom just sits there like, "Bloody hell, Alex! I would like to say something here."
A lot of bumbling, ball fondling rhetoric in this one from Alex.
Nothing changed.
I love the fact that I'm just looking at like my my backdrop and going, yeah, you can tell I'm a hobbyist and a bit of a nerd, can't you?
Yeah.
Because I'm going, we've got like various Power Girls on my display cabinets and Marines, like a load of signed Lord of the Rings stuff. It's So
if it makes you feel any better, a lot of my stuff, so the stuff over my shoulder is one thing, but I've got like uncut sheets downstairs that need to be framed and that sort of stuff. When I have a bit more of a dedicated area, which should be hopefully happening early next year, then I will hopefully be able to show the full nerd side of me coming out. Because I currently share this area with my lovely wife. This is like our shared office basically in a minute. Whereas
what you need to do is do what my friend Tim has done, is actually get a backdrop so you can just change the backdrop as required. He will just have the old man shouting at clouds.
I do have a massive green screen that I have done some videoing and whatnot with, but actually I personally prefer the backdrop of someone's, like looking at your backdrop, like I can engage in your nerdom instead of having an old man over my shoulder shouting at clouds.
I did wonder for a second what you were going to say then. You do, well, I've got a massive... I went, I don't know where this is going. I'm scared. I've got a massive green screen. All right, that's what you call it, is it? Cool.
That's for another podcast.
Yeah.
Magic after hours.
We finish how we started.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
right,
God.
Guys.
Thank you for having me. It's been good.
Thank you, and I hope you guys have enjoyed listening from the perspective of an LGS as much as anything else. So, but as always, what do you guys think about this, and what comments have you got sort of had? Because I think it's a really interesting conversation we should all be talking about. And also, as we always ask, feel free to comment, leave likes on all the socials, that sort of stuff. But what do you guys want to listen to next? We're always interested in what you guys have got to say, and hopefully we've got some more pods coming up soon. But anyway, once again, Matt, thanks for joining us. Dom, as always, pleasure, and we'll see everyone in the next podcast.
See you later, everyone.
See you later, guys.